Hi students, in this short video, I want you to consider whether urbanization, which is building cities and increasingly living in cities, goods and services being brought into a central area, and housing and infrastructure, all kinds of things being made available, could this kind of thing be a solution to poverty? If we bring people from the hinterland, which is one of your vocabulary words that you've looked up, if we bring people from rural areas into urban areas, do their chances for access to appropriate infrastructure, such as housing and schools, the buildings themselves, and utilities like the electrical grid or clean water systems, sewage, there's a big one to keep people healthy. Do they have access to more jobs in an urban area? Jobs the way modern folks like you and me think of jobs, not just jobs in a backyard, kind of that concept backyard garden or horticultural kind of area where they're trying to stay independent and stay in the rural area where their cultural heritage perhaps is. But are there jobs like you and I think of as a paycheck kind of job where I can pay my rent or buy my housing or pay a utility bill? What about healthcare resources? I don't simply mean things like vaccines, but what about being able to have a wellness visit and decide about what your physical and your mental well-being needs in order to contribute to your overall health? Or if you have some sort of deficiency, can we get you a medication easily? There are, a lot of places in the world today that don't even have access to basic antibiotics, which have been around for 100 years almost, so that we can, cure basic infections, simple infections, like diarrhea, for instance, which is something that happens when we don't have proper infrastructure in the water and the sewage systems. We can really suffer from that kind of thing. You can see that if urbanization and urban planning is not done properly and effectively, you won't have appropriate sewage and water resources to keep those kinds of disease vectors out of our general sphere, out of our general mental scapes and the places where we move throughout our urban environment on a regular basis. Food resources have always been an issue in urban spaces, however, and you're going to look at a video in this unit about urban farming and how that is perhaps transitioning urban areas from being food deserts unless trucks and other shipments of goods come in from outside the urban area. You're going to look at how that is a transition to our food supply in the currently, but also maybe in the future. It's going to be a really big deal. Maybe we can even use through, say, hydroponics, interior rooms where they never have sunlight at all. You can do some searches on eBay to look at urban gardening and hydroponic gardening and gardening of the future. See, these are some search terms you can use to look at the way that empty skyscrapers or parking decks or something within a city that has had, a flight from that area into the suburban areas around it. Perhaps you can use that for food production. There are some pretty innovative things that are taking place on that urban farming path. So they're very interesting to look at. But a lot of world watchdog agencies look at urbanization as a means to alleviate poverty worldwide. In other words, if we can get folks from the hinterlands, from the rural areas, from the sprawl of population that exists in the countryside, if we can bring those folks into an urban area and therefore have enough infrastructure to support everyone and jobs and healthcare and food, that this could be a great equalizer. So we've learned about social stratification, and perhaps social stratification could be somewhat levelized. It could be like a levelizing mechanism. A leveling mechanism. Urbanization is used as this kind of, or suggested to be this sort of leveling mechanism so that extreme poverty, famine, disease outbreaks, epidemics like Ebola that was so common in Africa in the last decade, killed, tens of thousands of people. These kinds of things can be curtailed with proper oversight and the proper utilities that are available in the infrastructure with proper urbanization. And so some, including the UN Habitat Program, which I have written over here. Let's see if I can get the glare off of it a little bit. The United Nations Habitat Program is one of these watchdog groups that looks at urbanization as perhaps a great equalizer, at least bringing people out of abject poverty into a more livable place where human development index issues can be improved and lifestyles and lifespans and health and education level can be improved through having access to the resources that urbanization provides. And so I have on the board behind me here the name of a video that you can search for on YouTube called A Slum Insight. And this video shows, if you've had me for sociology class, you've seen a small portion of this video already. We used it for our global stratification section, but just, or our global stratification unit. But you've only just seen a tiny portion of this if you've had me for sociology before. If you search for this movie this week and would like to address this concept, is urbanization a solution to poverty? This movie gives you a whole bunch of food for thought on that topic, and you can certainly use it as an outside source because it is not required for you to watch it, this particular unit. But if you need an outside source for a reaction paper, please consider looking at this or searching for any of the other videos that I mentioned about urban farming. We will be watching a short video about urban farming ourselves, but there are many more that you can cite and look at in terms of the future of cities in our culture and beyond. And you know, we're close to midterm, and some of you might need to have some pointers on some outside source reaction papers. So here you go. And you can text me with questions, and I will see you in another video lesson. Bye for now.